Mia Motly is a vocal critic of developed nations. She holds them accountable for their role in climate change. Developed nations have historically contributed the most to greenhouse gas for their role in climate change. Developed nations have historically contributed the most to greenhouse gas emissions. Motley argues that developed nations have a moral obligation. They must assist developing countries. Developing countries are facing the worst impacts of climate change. They need help to transition to clean energy. They need help to adapt to the changing climate. Motley has called out specific countries. She criticises their inadequate climate policies. She criticises their failure to meet their financial commitments. She demands concrete action, not empty promises.
Hello my YouTube family, thank you for clicking to watch this video. My name is MC Kajambi, or the Kenyan guy that loves Jamaica. So guys, today I want us to listen to a very impressive speech by Mia Motly that addresses the relationship between Jamaica and the USA. So let's get into this video. Make sure you watch it and let's reason together. Let me know what you think about Mia Motly and what she had to say in this video. I will come back guys later and I will tell you what I have developed from this speech.
Literally choked us and denied us the dignity of agency and the dignity of our humanity is a major accomplishment. In our case, it cut across many leaders. In yours, it did. But some of these things stand out purely because of the majesty of the legislative transformation and the social transformation. The repealing of the Master and Servants Act, an iniquitous piece of legislation that sought to bind us in as close to bonds of slavery without slavery being legal. The establishment of a national minimum wage, something that eluded many countries for many decades before you established it here. Maternity leave with pay, which we actually did slightly before you, but Michael Manley made sure that you did it. Gender equity and pay scales. Other laws, as we heard tonight, that outlawed bastardy, as we did too, around the same time. A law that established your National Housing Trust, I'm told, that transformed the fate of so many of your citizens. But it is not simply in the announcement and the passage and the recitation of these policies that it matters. It is also in the essence of the man, believing that fundamental to the building of a society is the dignity to be accorded to each and every citizen, to see, hear, and feel each and every citizen. And we take this sometimes for granted because the world in which we live doesn't even admit of it. Countries that are large sometimes don't see or feel small countries. The reality is that it is a rare virtue. And for the last 6 years, I started to reflect on how much the world looked like 100 years ago. And that in truth and in fact, we are in the throes of an inflection point, a historic movement that really, today, causes us to have to pause. And the danger is that we might be at risk of being distracted from the fundamental things that truly make a difference to our planet and to our people, and by extension, to our Caribbean civilization. The reality is that what we are witnessing, in my view, is really the dying of an old order without yet seeing where the new order will be located and how it will be framed. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci wrote in his famous prison notebooks, and I quote, "The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters, unquote. And what are those monsters today? Is it the climate crisis? I don't refer it to as climate change because there's nothing about change in the crisis that we face. It is a season of superlatives, and it's the season of the unexpected. We see it from the droughts, to the floods, to the hurricanes, to the sargassum seaweed, to so many other things that are so unrealistic. I'm accustomed to convection rain here in Kingston, not in Bridgetown. For the last 2 years, we experienced that from August to December, almost 5 days a week. While at the same time, for the first 6 months of last year, we had less than 50% rainfall of the average 30 years that went before in the same year. The monsters are the pandemics. And we acknowledge that with the increased heat, we are likely to see new pathogens develop, and by extension, new pandemics are likely to emerge. But even as we speak, separate from that, our abuse of antibiotics, antimicrobials, has led to an extraordinary level of antimicrobial resistance that now makes that responsible for the third highest number of deaths directly and indirectly in the world, and by 2050 it shall be responsible for the highest volume of deaths in the world, reversing a century of medical progress and making simple things like going to the dentist or going in the garden or having a baby risky things if you get an infection. We have seen environmental degradation generally, but in particular degradation of our soils. And there is the belief that it will considerably impact the already threatened food security that we have as a result of the impact of climate itself. But soil degradation in and of itself will make it worse. We are seeing the collapse of ecosystems and the collapse of and further loss of biodiversity. Things that we were accustomed to seeing are finding themselves removed from our environment. And at the same time, globally, we have 35 million people, refugees, across the world, fleeing wars, violence, persecution, and abject poverty, right here in our own region to across the world. The world itself is a dangerous place to be. The 1st of December, France had a government, as did Syria. Today, the 10th of December, both have been gone for a few days. One by law and one by force. We are at an interesting point. We hear of the movement against incumbents more than anything else. Some of it expresses itself in right-wing populism, some of it in the UK, left of centre. But in both instances, it's an anti-incumbent move, largely because much of what people have had to experience in this polycrisis moment in the last 5 years has made life difficult for most and perplexing for all. The spectacle of fake news and the inability to control a narrative to build a nation, where broadcasting used to be the order of the day and now narrowcasting and echo chambers replace it. We have more than ever to determine what does love look like in this, the third decade of the 21st century. And because time limits me, I'll just address a few matters. One, as it relates to regional integration and foreign policy. 2, as it relates to the reform of the international financial system and by extension our capacity to meet the global public goods that are critical for our survival on the planet as people. And finally, the utter and absolute importance as Caribbean people of the psychological reinforcement of our cultural identity to give us purpose and to give us unity and solidarity to weather these difficult times as the New World Order finds itself emerging. May not be for a few decades, maybe as soon as the next 5-10 years. And it is slow upon us when all of a sudden, as we saw in Syria, it is immediately upon us. And that is the nature of the world in which we live today, where the powers that influence and the information that is generated goes way beyond the nation state. And to that extent, on this day of the International Human Rights Day, one asks yourself, what will that new world order look like? And what will truly be the power of nation states? Will small states be able to survive without deep functional cooperation and pooling? Or will they become collateral victims as the world seeks to line up behind great powers yet again, particularly if the multilateral rules-based system that we have is not allowed to work for us? I say to you that it is critical that we not be sucked in to the bankruptcy of the current global world order. And if we go back to what love was for Michael Manley, and I'm amazed at the extent to which even the language used foretold the times in which we come to live in. There is no doubt that we are in a race against time, and those who doubt it will fail to prepare. And that, for us, means that we recognize that love fundamentally is about caring, seeing, hearing, and feeling. Fundamentally is about resilience, a word that...
Hey, my people, there are critical points and statements that I developed from this speech. Currently, Jamaicans in the USA are having a hard time because of the warnings and immigration warnings that have been issued by Trump. And what she's coming out to say is that there are various reasons that make people to leave their country to go to another country. And one of them, she says, is that could be climate. There are climate challenges in and Trump or the developed leaders, they should be in the forefront in dealing with challenges that result from global climate change or climate crisis, as she refers to it. And now, what I think she's alluding is that how could be that a person who should be in the lead to advocate for climate, to deal with climatic challenges, how could be the one that is causing the lifestyle of those people that have been affected probably by those challenges that made them to go there be? Why should he not contribute to giving them a peaceful time? And he goes on to ask, where is the love? Other reasons that Mia Motly classify as global challenges include poverty. Poverty is one of the reasons that people leave their country to go to other countries. And now when Trump comes to say that he is going to to do a massive deportation, and that is being targeted to Jamaicans, that is going against the principles, of these leaders that they have towards dealing with such kind of crisis. And she goes on to ask, to give an example of how Michael Manley, was, in his leadership, that he led with love, and he's asking, asking Trump to have love, even as she implement the policies. Love should be paramount and outstanding, and she says that love is about transformation, and it is about resilience. As Trump is seeking the transformation he wants as the president of the United States of America, let him do it with love and treat Jamaicans with love, as even he brings on the transformation. And this is just a great point. I find it to be these are great points that Mia Motly conveys to US and any other leaders that are trying to uh, to 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 make a milestone in their countries. Let them treat others with love, and first of all address the challenges that those that have made those people to be in their country. When you chase somebody, you don't know how, if they have achieved, if they have overcome the challenges in their country. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Let's meet in another video, and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can be notified anytime I upload a video.